Hey everybody, Brigham with Drift here. In this video, we're talking about the new Amplid Mood Bender. This is a new board in the Amplid Future Shapes series. It's kind of replacing the data. Before I get into the details, check out my specs and my biases below so you know where I'm coming from as a rider. We own the boards we talk about, get them in a variety of conditions, and then we let you know what we think. Before I get going on the review, I want to give a shout out to Amplid. They are the first company to help me get on a couple boards a season ahead of time before they came out. I was able to buy this and the Time Machine, which I have in another review. Just wanted to thank those guys, and I'd love to do that with any other companies that are interested. It's important to me that I get enough time on a board in enough conditions before I share my opinions. So this is one that Amplid recommended that I try. Honestly, I was a little bit skeptical. I didn't have very high expectations, and I ended up really enjoying this. So I'm excited to tell you about it. It's kind of in that crop of new, short-ish, wide-ish, twin-ish boards that are kind of billed as like, kind of a park board, kind of an all-mountain board, but also a little bit of a powder board. I have some skepticism about that as a genre of boards in general, but this ended up being quite fun. It's a very capable all-arounder. It's not going to, blow your mind at any one thing, but especially if you want one board that can be really fun for a variety of things, this is a really cool option, especially if the size works for you. I've probably mentioned this before. It's kind of my only beef with Amplid. If I had my way, they would have fewer boards and more sizes, but they have a lot of boards and they have limited sizes. As I've said in a lot of other reviews, in a perfect world, I think this would be a little bit bigger, a little bit wider for me. But even in this size, for what it is, it was a lot of fun. As a way to just kind of frame what this board's like, it reminds me a lot of the Yes Worka, which is one of my all-time favorites, kind of in that same category, but it's softer, it's a little bit more approachable, it's not quite as wide for the size, and it's got a little bit of early rise in the nose and tail, so a little less aggressive, a little more playful, but similar feel to that Worka. So second thing you should know, you can think of this as a powder board within reason. You got a nice amount of width, you got a little bit of taper, you got kind of a bigger fat nose, you can set it back a little bit. This is a fun board in the powder, as long as we're not talking too much snow or too low angle. So I'm thinking like if it's steeper, up to 8, maybe 10 inches, 12 inches of snow, depending on how big you are. For me, this shined in 4 to 6 inches of snow, as long as it wasn't too low angle, but a really nice feel in a little bit of powder. And part of it, along with the geometry, is the flex. It has kind of a nice flex point right in the center that allows it to kind of settle into that powder and get that nose up a little bit. So for the length and the width, at my size, I was surprised at the float this offered. If you're a little bit smaller than me, a little bit lighter, it's going to be even better. The third thing that you should know and that I thought was super cool was once I got on some firm snow, this has a really fun, playful, freestyle feel. It's happy to be ridden very chill and playfully. I took this out a few times, in particular when I was snowboarding with my son in the springtime, and I was riding a bunch of switch. I was, doing ground tricks, trying to do butters, doing little spins, 180s, 360s off of, just little knobs and stuff. Loved how it felt for that. I didn't ride it in the park. I don't do much in the park at all, but I see no problem if somebody wants something that they could go hit jumps with and hit rails with. This would be a lot of fun. If you hit jumps, you're probably looking at smaller to medium-sized jumps. You get into the bigger size, and you're probably going to overwhelm this a little bit. But very fun to ride mellow and play with. The fourth thing that's really cool is that even though it likes to be ridden with that mellow approach, this is surprisingly stable and capable when you push it hard. Now, you are going to find the limits, but you want to bomb groomers or bomb crud, it handles it pretty well. Obviously, you know, the harder that snow gets and the firmer that crud gets, the more this is going to start tossing you around. But you can get on a groomer and you can bomb this thing pretty hard. If you're carving, you know, it's going to be a little more mellow, smaller, more medium carves. But yeah, I was impressed with how you can push it, especially if you got like some decent soft crud. Like you can go pretty hard with this. And that's the fifth thing you should know is like once the snow gets bad enough, this thing's going to get overwhelmed. You're probably going to want to stick to those groomers and a little bit slower speeds. It's not going to be a do-it-all board if you want to ride hard in really nasty snow off of the groomed paths. So that's kind of the one shortcoming I would point out. I guess that and, you know, deeper powder. So if you're looking for a serious powder board, there are better options. If you like to push really hard and you often ride in pretty nasty, firm snow, I think there's better options as well. But if you want something pretty all around that's really fun when you're chilling, you can still charge with it, especially if the snow's decent. Really cool option, and a really good option if you want just one board that can do a little bit of everything pretty well. So there you have it. That's the Amplid Mood Bender. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.